away from her, and it has been challenging. So it's been one of those very bittersweet things to go through. It's been interesting. I spent the last year preparing for it, thinking I was ready, sort of grieving, ready to go. I thought, oh, I'm good because I spent the year grieving. I'm ready to let her go.
So mine started a little bit after yours. So let's tell people what we're talking about. I have the great equation of happiness. Mm-hmm. And today is an incredibly happy day. Chloe turns 18. So our youngest daughter, she's away to college. She is happy. She got into a sorority today. Friends. So much happiness. Now, Mama's not happy. Because,
well, I'm very happy for her.
Because baby's gone. And
it's a weird feeling, and I don't, it's interesting. So I posted a video, and it really touched a nerve with a lot of people. It's on my Instagram page, and it's the Stevie Nicks song, Landslide. And it's about aging and letting go. And it's, I'm going to cry if I start talking about it.
So we're going to do a therapy session. And the great equation to happiness is so simple. It's A plus B equals C. And A is what happens to you in life. Chloe's going to college. Chloe turned 18. Chloe's growing up and is going to have her own life. B is how you interpret what happens to you. And C is how you feel. C is how you act. C is what happens. But C actually has very little to do with A. Mm-hmm. It's the B stuff. Mm-hmm. And I talk about the B stuff all the time. And so, clearly you have a choice that you could talk about missing her and all the things that have happened. You end up feeling super sad. And
so hold on.
Wait.
Because to all the moms out there, this is very real. So so the problem with this kind of grief is it's not black and white. So I think there's some grief that's black and white, right? And yes, you can still put different interpretation, and you can still find things to be positive about it. And however you want to okay, cat, you need to go away. We've got the cat deciding to join us. Sorry. So he always has to be the center of attention.
Celebrate her success.
Yes. So this is where. So this is where. This is where it's this kind of grief.
I am in the exact same place, and I really thought I was prepared.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I spent a whole year preparing, and so then when I all of a sudden dropped her off and burst into tears, I'm like, but I prepared for a year. So not prepared.
But that's so normal.
Right.
That's a healthy reaction because you are attached to her. And anytime you go away, like you were gone for a week, I cried the whole week.
You so did not.
Because I'm a dad.
You so got to watch whatever you wanted on TV. And no, but let me finish what I was going to say about this type of grief. The reason this is unique, if you lose someone close to you, like someone passes away, that's sort of a clear kind of grief, right? It's like that person's not coming back. It can be a brutal kind of grief, and you have to work through that. And we know the stages of grief, and I still love this equation because it still applies. But this kind of grief is a little odd because you're losing something close to you that you love, that's special, but at the same time, you've worked for 18 years towards this goal. So you spent 18 years, okay. Cat.
You want to say hi?
Say hello and then go away.
Say hi. Say hi. Hi.
Okay, now bye. Bye-bye.
And you still have him.
Yes, I have him. So, anyways, cats are like this, the relationship with cats is very interesting. So, you spend 18 years of your life helping your children achieve their goals.
Oh my God, look at all these
And
comments.
You spend 18 years, towards this final conclusion, and you're building them up and helping them, and it's like, yay, we got to this finish line, and then you're just devastated when it's like this very bittersweet thing because it's not a regular kind of grief, because it's like a happy thing and it's like a ripping your heart out thing all at once.
Well, and it's important to feel it. And somebody wrote, tears are frozen emotions, releasing so that you can make room for
Oh,
new.
well, then I'm good because I've been releasing a lot of emotion.
No, I think that's normal. Like in my office, I have a box of Kleenex. And if I'm doing good work, we're going through that box. But at the same time, you have to train your mind to look at what you have, not what you don't have.
Right.
So as she went away to school, you now already have new children that she's already got a whole group
Oh
of
yeah,
friends.
they all think they're coming here for summer. Just FYI, we need to get a whole bunch of like air mattresses or something, and that's all good. And I'm so that part's really happy for me. Seeing her being happy is really helping me. Focusing on her being happy. So a few of the things that I'm doing, focusing on her being happy, seeing her success, seeing her get into her sorority. She got the Dean's Scholarship. She's doing very well. She's so paying attention to all of her successes and how she's doing is helping me. Then on top of that, really trying not to let my mind go to the dark place, but instead forcing myself to like write out a list and journal, write out a list. What do I want to do with this phase of my life? So I know you have this, you're like, you're not competing anymore. So we now are.
Oh no, I've told everybody that for 18 years, I have been Avis.
Not
number
true.
2.
Not
and
true.
now I get to be Hertz.
Not true, but there was a little competition.
It's totally true.
Well, okay.
It's
so now
Argue with reality. Welcome to hell. Write that down. Argue with reality. Welcome to hell.
So now we get to go do things that we didn't do before, and so.
Well, and our third daughter, Caitlin, just came over with the 3 grandchildren. So it doesn't end.
Right.
It goes
Well, we've got our
on and
nieces.
on until it ends. And you have worked so hard to have a solid bond with Chloe that's never going to go away.
But I have this urge to go jump out of an airplane or something, to go skydiving.
Why?
Because there's just this like feeling of like, it's just sort of like heavy. And it's like, oh, what can I do to like, I want to go hike.
You want a dopamine jump.
Yeah, I want to like hike.
Okay,
hike
well, let's
Baton
talk about
or-
good dopamine jumps and bad dopamine jumps. Like jumping out of an airplane would be a bad dopamine jump. Because it's not good for your brain, right? Whatever you do, is it good for your brain?
Anybody else
or
relate
bad
to this
for it?
though? You have this like need to just break free from this like
Yeah.
heaviness.
Alcohol and drugs could do that too, but not good for your brain. So what else can I do?
No.
So we talked
Go
about
hiking in Baton.
traveling.
Can't travel as much right now.
We
so.
talked about traveling. We spent more time together. So those husbands who are listening, and dads get depressed too when kids go away. We just show it differently. Might
Yeah, you
show
can
it with
become
more irritability or more social withdrawal, or for some people, more drinking. So it's useful to talk about it, and but I've made sure I've spent as much time with you as I
Yeah, no, I have to say I'm very fortunate because I have an amazing husband. I've got my nieces here with me who are everyone's being very conscious of it and very kind and very sweet. And
Their comments, they come back home. Oh my goodness, there's so many comments.
so I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed.
Somebody is saying I'm talking too slow.
So-
Oh, no.
Huh? No. So anyway, trying to be present in the moment with the people that I love and that love me, and focusing on.
Someone says you're gorgeous. Another one says I'm about to work at a youth shelter to help missing momming. I love that word.
Well,
momming.
and I've got my nieces here, so we're helping with them, and so that's there's lots of things you can do.
Well, and that's the important. It's to look forward, not back. With grief, it generally gets way worse if you keep looking in the rear. If you keep looking behind, not only does it give you a neck ache, it gives you a worse heartache. And it's one of the reasons I love Ariana Grande's song, Thank You Next, which it's gratitude for what happened looking forward.
I love this comment. Chloe will feel better knowing you were fulfilled without her. And I love that. And one thing that is really important is I want people to hear this that are grieving. It's when we talk about all these things that you do to sort of like, make a list of things you want to do, redefine yourself, the person who said they're working at a shelter, us helping, my nieces and all these other things, traveling. It's not that we're trying to replace the person. It's not that you're trying to get rid of those memories or replace it. That is not the point. The point is that you are trying to support that, like I'm trying to support her moving forward and not have her exactly what that person just said. I don't want her to feel bogged down by my emotion. I want to feel good about my life. I'm a separate individual from her. It's time for her to soar. It's time for her to fly. And so
Are you separate?
Okay, I'm working on it. But me focusing on all those things isn't me like saying, oh, she's not important anymore, I'm letting those memories go. It's me just embracing this new change in life. It's a change.
And so what are things that will accelerate the grief? And what are things that'll decelerate the grief? Just knowing you.
So I have this tendency to want to focus back on, it's bittersweet because you focus back on the good memories and you replay those things. Like I want to hold on to all those good things and those memories from when she was younger. And I replay them over and over in my head and wish it was the same. And it's like, that's going to make you feel worse.
So then you have to balance that with the times she screamed at you, the times she was...
Well, and the problem is that when they're gone, you actually miss those too. Like it's not accurate in your head.
It's balancing memories, right? Because as wonderful as she was also difficult sometimes.
She was strong. Yeah.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. So
what will decelerate the grief? Because you have a choice and this is where I want you to be curious about what's going on with you, rather than furious that, she's doing this to me or, I'm different or not the same.
So I think the two things that have been helping me are I talk to her and like she'll FaceTime me and I see her having so much fun. I see her having fun. I see her doing things. So when I see her soaring, it's like, oh, wow, we achieved this goal. And she's doing so well. She's this beautiful, strong, like all of those strong moments that when she was young that were so hard are now paying off. And she's become this amazing, intense, strong, incredible person that's flying.
So it's looking at her success.
Right. And then also focusing on what I'm going to do now that's new and different in our lives. Like instead of getting stuck here going like, oh, I'm just moping around the house and walking past her bedroom and crying because I don't hear her footsteps coming down the hall. That's really easy to do. It's going to be like, what are we moving towards? Like what new things are we going to do together?
And then sleep will matter, and plans for the future, that will help. And then not believing all the bad thoughts that come into our heads.
Right, so challenging them, for sure.
And then you always do better when you meditate.
Absolutely. When
you just take time to clear
And this week
your
my
head.
system has felt a little off balance.
Yeah.
So you guys have been really great about just, lots of hugs and, taking me out for walks and... Because you just feel a little off balance. Something's a little off. There's someone missing.
But I think
so
noticing that, because, people get not stuck. People come to live in our brains. Even like the animals, like Miso came, he comes to live in our brain. And when they go away, when animals die or when children leave or when someone we love, like last year my dad died, they're still there. And everything that sort of would trigger a reminder can trigger the sadness. And so know it, don't block it, feel it, but then go forward. Because if you get stuck behind, it can actually cause depression
Right.
for some people. So being sad, this is not a Prozac moment. This is a moment to
Yeah.
manage your mind. And I'm not opposed to medication, but grief is normal in these situations, and you want to do the things that help your brain be strong rather than medicate it and actually make your brain weak.
So I think there's a difference, we had this conversation with someone we know recently. There's a difference between sad moments and depression. And so it's really important to differentiate between those two. You don't want to block the sadness that comes with sad moments. You don't want to block the emotion. Someone else just commented on that. You want to let that flow through. That's different than truly being depressed as a person, like you're going through clinical depression. So those are very different. And don't be so afraid of the feeling. Like, I'm letting myself feel that, but I don't want to get stuck in the sadness.
Well, and try not to take it out on the people you love, because then that's actually going to increase your stress.
Mm-hmm.
So we hope this is helpful to you.
I want to just
remember
take a
the
look.
great equation: A plus B equals C. A is what happens to you in life. B is your interpretation of what happens to you, and C is how you respond.
Oh.
And how you respond has mostly to do with B, how you interpret what is happening to you. I have this big loss, Chloe's gone. Or I've been working for 18 years so Chloe can have a great life, so she can be an independent human being. She's doing that. And so it's sort of like 10 and I scored a touchdown.
Yeah, it's like that. But it's important to differentiate, because someone made a comment. They said, are we talking about grief? It's the type of grief that we're feeling this is what I was trying to say before. It's very different because it's like this bittersweet thing. But there are people commenting that they lost several people this last year. And that's a very different type of grief when someone passes away. Someone said they feel frozen on the couch because of losing several people. That's a different kind of grief.
It's not that different.
You can use the same equation.
It's not that different in the sense that a lot of parents get depressed when children go away to school. Mm-hmm. And
especially if they didn't have a good relationship.
And my dad died last year. And so I know grief more than I want to know grief. And when you feel frozen, just sometimes doing little things to get up, like going for a walk, can help so much. In my book, Use Your Brain to Change Your Age, I tell Chris's story. Remember Chris's story, who lost her 12-year-old daughter, Sammy, to bone cancer. And then she had 3 other children, but got severely depressed, went to bed, ate all the bad food, drank, ballooned over 200 pounds on her 5'2" frame. And on the 2-year anniversary of Sammy's death, she was going to kill herself. And then she saw us on public television, and she's like, oh, I'm going to go get their book. And she told me this at a lecture. And she said, and if it was a bad book, I could kill myself tomorrow. She actually said that to me. And she said, but it was so simple, so actionable. Stop drinking, stop eating bad food, started walking, started running. She said with eight days, the waking up in a panic had gone.
Yeah.
And when I saw her, she was down 35 pounds. And she says, I want you to tell everybody, never let grief be your excuse to hurt yourself. Mm-hmm. That doing the right thing as far as brain health will help you manage the grief.
So, and I have a very good friend who, this is so sad, but she lost her daughter. She was killed by a drunk driver. And that kind of grief to me just sounds very difficult, like one of the worst things I can imagine. And she handles grief, I think, probably in a more healthy way than anyone I know. And so I've always, I think of her not only as a friend, but she's a mentor, because I cannot imagine that. And so I always sort of watch her as this person who just is so strong and beautiful in how she handles grief. And you can see that it's been a long time now. She still grieves. but she does it in a healthy way. And because of that, she started a ministry and she started mentoring other women and mothers. And it's interesting because when this happened with Chloe, she was the person who reached out to me first and said, let me take you to lunch. I know what you're going to be going through. And at first I felt like, oh, I can't talk about this with her. I'm grieving my daughter going to college, and she, you know, her daughter has passed. And she was just so, she's just so loving. And so finding someone who is a good mentor to you, who models how to move through grief is really important. So that was really helpful to me.
Well, and I love that comment about going to volunteer so she can continue the momming that she has done. You are going to continue the momming with, you know, at home we still have a 16-year-old and 11-year-old. So there is a lot.
And someone said there's a lot of fun as an empty nester. So, yeah.
Yes, we're sort of looking forward to being an empty nester at some point.
At some point.
Anyways,
we've got a ways.
We hope this has been helpful to you. Leave your comments and questions for us. And no, for a lot of people, this is a hard time as kids go away. So if you know someone who has a child that's just gone away to college, reach out to them.
Yeah, it was so helpful to me having someone do that. And all I did was talk about her for an hour, but she just was so great at listening and helping me. And it's so helpful to have someone do that.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Take
Happy
care.
Sunday.
Bye-bye.